If you eat too many ultra-processed foods, you could be starving your gut microbes, and they'll get hangry. That's one of many things I learned after working on a new audio course about the gut microbiome. You can learn how to keep your gut happy by listening to Try This from the Washington Post. I'm Christina Quinn. I host Try This. Dig in with me on practical advice for life's common challenges. Follow Try This right now wherever you're listening. Seriously, try it.
Lowe's knows how to help make your home holiday ready for less. Get Select Style Selections vinyl flooring for just $1.99 per square foot and have it installed before the festivities begin. Our team can help you every step of the way. See a Lowe's Red Vest associate or visit Lowe's.com/holiday install to get started. Lowe's, we help, you save. Basic install only. Date restrictions apply. Subject to availability. Installed by independent contractors. See associate for details. Contiguous U.S. only.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Let's talk some movies for a moment. Sylvester Stallone, love what he does. I think Tulsa King season 4 should be out sometime soon. And if you didn't know, Samuel L. Jackson will be a part of that season. So if you haven't seen Tulsa King, highly recommend. Frank Grillo as well is a fellow villain in the cast. Really good show. But I bring it up because Sylvester Stallone is having a bit of a resurgence and a rebirth, if you will. There is more and more interest surrounding this next Rambo movie. And if you saw the most recent Rambo movie, I thought it was actually one of the best in the series because Sylvester Stallone is allowing Rambo to not only get older, but care less. And he's dispatching the would-be villains in the most violent sorts of ways. But he's not superhuman. You know, he's self-aware that he's too old to be doing that stuff. The reason I mention it is they're looking at doing a Rambo prequel. They've talked about casting certain actors. And at one point, Sylvester Stallone was saying, like, wait, why don't you just use me and use the de-aging process? He says that the technology is sophisticated enough to make him look like he's 18 years old. I don't know about that. I know that I've seen it. They've done it with Kurt Russell, took 40, 50 years off him. I know they can do a lot with it, but in such a physical role as Rambo, someone presumably going through basic training, going to Vietnam as the character story goes, I don't know if it will look right on him over the course of the full movie. I know they did some things with Christopher Evans and they had a body double for the first Captain America. And I know they've taken dead people and used body doubles and put the face on them like they did for Fast and Furious. And they did Rogue One with Carrie Fisher. So I know technology is capable of a lot of things. I don't know if it works for Sylvester Stallone over the course of a 2-hour movie impersonating, air quotes, an 18-year-old.
I mean, think about Tron and when they de-aged Jeff Bridges so he could do those roles. It was okay, but it was limited. A short burst.
Yes, it's limited.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
And in the dark, they were all dark scenes. You know, that's intentional. You can hide a lot of stuff because when they tried to do it with Will Smith in Gemini Man, if you remember that movie, and he had a younger version of himself, the moment they showed it in the daytime, it all fell apart. Now, of course, that movie was 6-7 years ago, however long ago. It's probably better now, but I'm not so sure it works for a full movie in every scene. And also, I'm not so sure I care about that story of going back to the beginning of John Rambo and seeing him get messed up with Agent Orange or whatever it was that set him off.
You don't want to see him learn how to like bend sticks and put spikes in them to take people's out.
Not really. That doesn't interest me about the character. I actually like the progression of this psychotic person who has no place in society trying to just live out the rest of his days and people keep messing with him.
I want to see where he got it in his head that you drew first blood and that meant kill everyone in the town.
Look, if they're not going to bring back a dead Richard Crenna, I don't want to see it. He's very important to the first Rambo. Very important.
That's true. That's true.
And Mark agrees with me.
I don't even understand how a prequel to Rambo would work, because in the first one from the 80s, he's a Vietnam vet and he's pushed too far and he snaps. What happens before that?
So I said basic training.
Yes.
Vietnam War.
But he's normal up until he snaps.
Well, we don't know that. What if he went in and enlisted and he was not normal? And we get to see all the little pressure points, all the little things that make a Rambo snap. Like, what makes a Rambo snap and go full on kill the town people?
We don't need this.
I look, here we go. Mark and I are agreeing. Something's wrong. I would like to see Sylvester Stallone. I would like to see Sylvester Stallone playing John Rambo. The whole idea of an 18-year-old Rambo, and maybe we'll meet his parents or something, or the high school he went to. I don't care about any of that. I don't care.
But what about him just running through Vietnam, wrecking shop?
Sometimes it's good to just leave things as a mystery.
Let me add to that, Kiana. Okay. I believe that the whole Vietnam War aspect of it does not land the same as many generations later. When we were growing up in the 1980s, we're only like maybe 10, 12 years.
That's true.
Outside of Vietnam. So not only did some people in our generation have some memory of it, we had parents who served in Vietnam. There are people who we knew served in Vietnam. Vietnam is like, for us, the World War II generation. We don't have any real connection. And I don't know if that movie resonates or it has the same type of emotional impact. For a war which is now 60 years ago.
Yeah, we had the impression that Vietnam vets were kind of dangerous. You don't startle them to wake them up. You don't go up and ask what their tattoo means. And that's kind of lost on people at this point.
And I think you have to also delve into the social commentary of explaining why the Vietnam War was unpopular here in the States. Why then a soldier like John Rambo was ostracized in many ways and not received as the hero. Because, John Rambo was frustrated trying to reintegrate himself in society. They wouldn't leave him alone. And I think you have to go back and explain that, because we have a millennial generation and a Gen Z. They don't understand any of that.
The whole scenario has changed. I mean, now the military in the U.S. is the employer of last resort. But back then, of course, we had the draft. And these guys came back shell-shocked, and they were getting spat on and called baby killers. And that was the milieu, if you please, that Rambo existed in. That's what contributed to him going berserk. And I don't know. That first
Mark,
movie.
Are you volunteering to write the script? Because this story you're telling right now is riveting. I want to see that.
Yeah, okay. I'll do the Rambo comic book.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll pass. I don't need to see that chapter.
Wait, you're going to pass on Mark's comic book?
No. Well, if you want to start the comic book, I'll read that. But I'm not going to go see a de-aged Sylvester Stallone, and I don't think I'm interested in that portion of the story, whether they have a de-aged Stallone or an 18-year-old actor.
Just one more thing. I know we're running long, but I'm blurbed on one of those latter Rambo movies where he's old and just smoking everybody in sight. I thought the violence was terrific in those, because they take the first one, when we first see Rambo, it's a little bit more realistic. It's still a fantasy, but by the time we get to these ones where he's an old man killing people, it's just pure violent porn.
And one reason I did like the last one, and I know this is macabre and morbid, it didn't have a happy ending. It wasn't like he was going to save the day in every way. And if you know the last one, you know that, he was basically getting revenge. It didn't turn out the way that he wanted. So, it humanized him more than anything, I believe.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I think they're fun just because of the carnage that Stallone decides we're going for it.
Oh, it was
There's
enjoyable.
no holds barred.
Yeah, it was definitely that. I just liked when it just gave a little bit of a tweak at the end. It's like, there's no happy ending here. He killed everyone, but couldn't save the one person he went in to save.
Yeah, there's nothing more dangerous than an old man who happens to be a Vietnam vet who has absolutely nothing to lose. Everybody's going to die.
That's the story.
You won't see the engineer that slams the Nissan Rogue's door 13,920 times. Or the corrosive chamber that simulates 15 years of life in 5 months. Or the Rogue heat-baked for over 300 combined hours. What you will see is a vehicle that can take punch after punch and keep rolling. Nissan, #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands by J.D. Power. We put it through the worst, so you get its best. For J.D. Power 2025 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Awards based on 2025 model year. Newer models may be shown.
If you eat too many ultra-processed foods, you could be starving your gut microbes, and they'll get hangry. That's one of many things I learned after working on a new audio course about the gut microbiome. You can learn how to keep your gut happy by listening to Try This from the Washington Post. I'm Christina Quinn. I host Try This. Dig in with me on practical advice for life's common challenges. Follow Try This right now wherever you're listening. Seriously, try it.
I want to see.
Yeah.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Coming up next segment, we will have the Rahner report. You can be very tough on movies, but you're also truthful and you're sincere. You don't bash movies just to bash movies.
No. It's a public service. It's a consumer service that we do. I mean, movie critics don't just do it to hear the sound of their own voices. I mean, you're spending money. You're getting in the car. You're buying food there. It's a big commitment to go to a movie, and so if you can have somebody warn you off something that's bad or point out something that's good, I mean. I always like it when somebody does that for me.
All right. Have you seen the new season or anything of the first drop episodes of the new Gen V?
Yeah, I saw episode 1. There are 3 that are out right now, and it's solid. I vastly prefer The Boys, but this is in that universe, and I'll take it until we get the next and final season of The Boys. Do you like it?
I love Gen V and The Boys. I won't ask Twala because he's not a fan of The Boys or Gen V.
I liked the last season of The Boys. Did not appreciate the first season or 2. I thought it was I've seen it. I grew up reading those comics. Like, those stories weren't new for me. So seeing it on television where most people are like, oh my God, look at this. I was like, man, pick up a comic book. Why don't you? Like, these stories aren't new.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, to all of the show is vastly superior to the comic. It's much smarter, and it's much more attuned to what's going on in the world right now. The comic's good, though.
I didn't like the comic. I didn't like the comic. I don't like, what's his name? I really don't.
Garth Ennis.
Yeah, I can't stand Garth Ennis as a creator. I can't stand him. So I went into it with that. I thought Gen V was a superior product, and I thought maybe because it borrowed from what I felt The Boys failed at. It got into the story quickly and it really established itself versus dragging on and on and on. I dig it.
No, I relate to what you're saying. Yeah. And I think that one reason you might find Garth Ennis's work off-putting is sometimes it just seems like he's seen what he can get away with in a comic in terms of language and violence and stuff like that.
And that works on the small screen, though.
Well, also, I think you cannot downplay how great Anthony Starr is as Homelander.
Yes.
When one of my comics was optioned years ago, a zombie Western, they kept on trying to tell me, we're going to reach out to Colin Farrell. And I'm like, no, you got to see this guy on a show called Banshee. I know it's ending. At least reach out to him. And that was Anthony Starr. And they're like, no, we like Colin Farrell. Boy, are they probably sorry now, even though they're not returning my emails.
Well, Colin Farrell was more of a name at that point, an established commodity.
I know, but Anthony Starr is just terrific in anything he does, especially playing a violent psychopath.
And it's not who he is from all accounts of people that I know who have ever interacted with him. He's like one of the nicer guys in Hollywood.
Oh, I know nothing about him personally. Is that true?
No, I'm saying that's what's told to me. I haven't met him yet. So I hear nothing but good things about him, Anthony Starr, the person.
I can't wait for the new Boys season to start. I will say, Toala, the funniest comic book cover of all time is a Boys cover where I think Homelander and Queen Maeve are in the hospital. They're both white, and she's holding their baby, which is not white. And Homelander's got the most pissed expression you can imagine on his face. And it doesn't take much for you to do the math of what's going on in that one image.
Yeah, he's very possessive and very insecure. Yeah.
No, I mean, again, to your point, Mark, to me, Garth Ennis always tried to push an edge that no one was asking to push. It's almost like he was jealous of what they did with so many other stories, and it all goes back to what's the name? And I think he was jealous that he didn't get to do it. Lord have mercy.
I'm not sure who you mean.
No, they did the movie. Oh, God.
It'll come back to you like 3 a.m.
But I'm sure you could say the same thing about his Preacher comic book as well.
Preacher, same thing to me. It was like, oh, I get it. You know, you're jealous of so many other titles, and you're trying to say, watch what I do. I'm going to make them do this ridiculous thing.
I like it where it goes against type of what we think a superhero's supposed to be, or our collective embrace of their moral superiority of the superheroes that are supposed to be the best of us, when they're saying, no, they're actually just like us with superpowers, and they're actually worse.
Watchmen. I think Garth Ennis has always been jealous of Watchmen, that he didn't create it, and this is his, watch what I do. I'm going to do a better version of Watchmen. And I'm like, you didn't, dude. You lack all the gravitas that Watchmen had.
I don't even know if all the Watchmen imitators understood what they read when they read Watchmen. There's a reason why Alan Moore doesn't want anything to do with DC or the spin-offs, or even take the royalty checks from that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I actually liked the Watchmen movie. I don't think Alan Moore did, but I liked the movie.
As someone who read the comic cover to cover, and I'm not talking the collect, I bought all of those and read those. When I saw the series, I said to myself, oh, no, man, no. You shouldn't have done it. I agree with Alan Moore. There's too much story to tell to try to squeeze into, and when you read the comic book, it's one of those things where I wish I hadn't, because it made the movie just suck so bad.
Well, I happen to like it. You're wrong, Tuala. Okay. Mark is wrong, but he's coming up next with the Rahner Report, and we'll see.
You won't see the engineer that slams the Nissan Rogue's door 13,920 times, or the corrosive chamber that simulates 15 years of life in 5 months, or the Rogue heat-baked for over 300 combined hours. What you will see is a vehicle that can take punch after punch and keep rolling. Nissan, #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands by J.D. Power. We put it through the worst, so you get its best. For J.D. Power 2025 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Awards based on 2025 model year. Newer models may be shown.
If you eat too many ultra-processed foods, you could be starving your gut microbes, and they'll get hangry. That's one of many things I learned after working on a new audio course about the gut microbiome. You can learn how to keep your gut happy by listening to Try This from the Washington Post. I'm Christina Quinn. I host Try This. Dig in with me on practical advice for life's common challenges. Follow Try This right now wherever you're listening. Seriously, try it.
He's wrong about that as well.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Now on Later with Mo Kelly, Mark talks about movies and TV, pontificates about pop culture. Rahner Report with Mark Rahner.
It's Later with Mo Kelly on KFI AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeart app. I'm Mark Rahner, and this is the Rahner Report. The first thing you need to know about him is that it's not about that male supplement for performance, we'll call it, and regrowing your hair. That would have been better. Tonight we delve into the underdeveloped genre of sports horror, which we haven't seen much of since I, Tonya, or Rudy. Oh, crap. Sean Astin's the new SAG-AFTRA president. Am I going to get pulled off the air? I guess that's a thing now. And since Sean Astin and Guillermo del Toro appear to be morphing into the same person, I'm really in trouble, aren't I? Google them. You'll understand. It's not an insult. I'm just pointing it out. Anyway, here's a scene from him. Listen to him.
You ain't nothing. You ain't nothing but an emotional little pretty boy chasing validation from strangers. Because your father didn't love you. This ain't no game. This ain't a game, man. This is everything. You are not your father. This Cameron kid want this. Yes, I want this. Then what are you willing to sacrifice? Everything! And show me.
And show him he does. That was Tyreek Withers as an up-and-coming football star who suffers a head injury in a weird attack. And he's nearly recovered with a nice new part in his hair made of staples. And his doctor's not sure if it's safe for him to play anymore. He gets a chance to be on his favorite team with his favorite legendary player, played by Marlon Wayans, who you also heard. He's thinking about retiring. Wayans invites the young guy to his huge, opulent personal compound in the desert to remind him that we should tax the rich. Actually, it's for some intense training and some mind games, possibly some hallucinations. And the constant repeated message seems to be, how bad do you want to be the GOAT? Or to put it as Sean Connery would have in The Untouchables.
What are you prepared to do?
If you couldn't quite make that out, it was, what are you prepared to do? Followed by a death gurgle. But it's not just some football practice with Wayans. It's extra brutal, weird stuff that the guys from, say, North Dallas 40 would look at it and go, this is a bit much. Again and again, too. What are you willing to do to be the GOAT? How much really inappropriate punishment are you willing to take and give out to be the GOAT? In addition to giving up your phone, how much are you willing to sacrifice to be the GOAT? And by the way, who is it that you're really giving it all to? This is an allegory for imbeciles, a metaphor for morons. But you're saying, surely that's an overstatement, Mark, you football-shunning pansy, you wrestling singlet-wearing closet case. And to that I say, first, it was the required uniform, and I would advise against taking a Hims pill while wearing it. And also, let me put it this way. By the time of a nonsensical bloodbath with the team owners wearing actual pig masks, I don't think you're going to have a lot left for your mind to masticate on. These guys don't want to waste any subtlety on you. And at the same time, they don't want to waste any coherent story on you either. And by the way, I say this as a huge fan of old martial arts movies. They're all about insane, miserably hard training to achieve mastery, like the 36th Chamber of Shaolin, the Warriors 2. This is not those. Him is not them. It's not even really horror. And it's not just that the dialogue is bad. Let me say, as someone who doesn't always use the Queen's English, even in my newscasts, and I try to be conversational, it wasn't long before I was thinking, could you maybe use some other words in addition to goat? Is there an AI that's counted the number of goats? I like goats as much as the next guy who's absolutely not into bestiality, but also I like movies with a variety of words. I don't expect football players to have the vocabulary of William F. Buckley, but I expect screenwriters to mix things up a little. The ones who perpetrated this movie will never be the goats of screenwriters. But now that I'm thinking about this, I want to write a sketch with Buckley and Gore Vidal in that scenario. Like, what is the extent of your engagement, you effeminate pithecanthropus? I've seen better spirals on an Easter ham. I'm going to write that. Look, Wayans looks like he's having fun in this movie, and it's clever. They cast comedian Jim Jeffries as his trainer, sort of a Dr. Feelgood type. The director's name is Justin Tipping, who's mostly done some TV work. This movie has some visual style to it, but without much substance. The effect is approximately violent, irritatingly repetitive cologne ad. This is from producer Jordan Peele, and I guess we have to talk about him. He really knocked one out of the park back in 2017 with Get Out. His follow-up 2 years later, Us, was laugh out loud bad, made no sense, and I will not argue about that with anyone. Can't say I loved Nope in 2022 either, or liked it. And if we're putting all the cards on the table here, the iteration of The Twilight Zone Jordan Peele hosted in 2019 was an abomination. I'm not big on sports or math, but it seems like the kind of win-loss ratio that'd get a coach unceremoniously fired. And it raises the question, what happened to Jordan Peele? Anyone who was involved in the Key and Peele sketch about the two guys bragging to each other about how they laid down the law with their wives and said, bitch, only to cower in fear when the wives poke their head into the room. That's got to be at least close to genius territory. So what happened? By the way, I don't read much before I write my reviews, but I am intensely pumped to read a lot of them now because of all the football expressions that hack critics are guaranteed to use. I started looking at one that said, the movie was fumbled, and I thought, no, this is dessert. I must wait. I mean, I don't want to come off like a tight end or anything, but this is the movie equivalent of CTE. And if I were German, this would be a 4th and 9. Over and above that, him seems destined to be the kind of throwaway flick that turns up really soon on, say, Peacock, but way, way down on the main page, and only when it's brand new. Not only is him on my year's worst list, but I cannot wait for a parody, porn or otherwise, called Ham. That's your Rahner report post-game on this blowout. Mo, you don't have any of these guys booked on the show, do you?
No, and they won't be anytime soon, clearly. 4th and 9. 9. Police eye! Police eye!
Who doesn't like a little Nazi humor in a movie review, huh? 9. Schnell.
KFI and KOST HD2, Los Angeles, Orange County. More stimulating talk.
If you eat too many ultra-processed foods, you could be starving your gut microbes, and they'll get hangry. That's one of many things I learned after working on a new audio course about the gut microbiome. You can learn how to keep your gut happy by listening to Try This from the Washington Post. I'm Christina Quinn. I host Try This. Dig in with me on practical advice for life's common challenges. Follow Try This right now wherever you're listening. Seriously, try it.